Okay, so what we want to do in this section, we are going to create a responsive app. We're going to make your cat photo app responsive. So we're going to create a responsive website, meaning that if you make it big, you can have these sections next to each other. And if you make it small, then these sections will be below each other. So we're going to add some CSS and we're going to explore the HTML of the cat app. So what I have here, I have it already. So I'm just going to start from scratch here. So for the time being, because I'm starting with a new color theme, I'm going to say body. So let's see our color theme here. So for the time being, we'll say, okay, let's make this our background. We're going to fiddle around with this. We're going to say background color, and we're going to say that's that red one. So let's see. So I've got preview. Okay, so it doesn't work yet because what I have not done is I didn't link my CSS yet. Link CSS. Call it cats.css. Cats.css. If I go there, that's my background. Yo, that's a red, eh? Let's see how we get on with that, whether that's the way we want it or whether we want to change it to be slightly different. So what I want to do is I'm going to copy this one and I'm going to say I'm going to make each section of this. I'm going to create a class for that. So I'm going to say here dot cat and I'm going to say here background color is that. Okay. So let's see. So now I'm going to go here. So you see in this page, there's different sections already. So I'm going to go, which is great container wise. I'm going to say this cat. Okay. So if I do that and I look at the preview, you can see now I have these sections. So I'm going to add this to all the sections. So I'm going to add cat and I'm going to add cat, even to the forms at the bottom. Okay. So now I've got these three blocks like this. And then what I want to do is, for starters, I want to put some space around the edges. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say margin 1em. Okay, so I've got spaces here. I actually want to add some padding of 1em instead. So I want to say padding 1em. Okay, so I'm adding some spacing here around this. I have my cat areas. So what I want to do is I want to say border radius 1em. So I'm going to add some rounds. See, there's some things there. Let's see what other colors I have. So maybe, I don't know. So maybe I should swap these things around. So I'm going to play around. Maybe do this one here. See. Then I want to go here. So now at this point in time, everything is going to be red. I think I want to make the background to be this one, the dark one. Let's see if we make the dark one. Is that the way I had it? Let's go here. Let's do this now. That's okay. It's good enough for now. I'm going to add a border. I'm going to say border 1px solid. So just for now, we add a bit of a border. Okay, it looks quite nice. It actually looks like it pops. But what we want is we want one of our colors. So if I take this one, the hash. Okay, let's see. Okay, so that's our cat app for now. So if I make it narrow, this is what it will look like on a narrow screen later on. Anyway, what I want to do at this point in time, I want to put this next to each other. So I want to create a Flexbox that wraps around this and put all the top three elements in the Flexbox, and then it should be narrow. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to create dot cats, and then I'm going to say display, and then I'm going to say flex. Then what I want to do is I want to add a new element right here. So let's see. So I've got these sections. So I want to say add a new section, and I want to say class cats. Okay. So I want to put all these top 3 sections into there. So I put this. I put this here. And then I want to put this one here. Okay, so let's have a look now. So now, look at that. Okay, I've got my sections. They're sitting next to each other. Okay, so what we want to check out now, you see, it doesn't take up all the space. So we want to add a flex one here. Okay, so now it's taking up all the space. You can see, I think this photo here makes this one wider than the rest, which is going to be difficult to fix at this point in time. I think that's okay. I'm going to make the margin 0.5. Okay, so now they're a little bit closer to each other, so that looks okay. So far so good. And let's have a look what we can do. So if your screen is narrow now, you see it doesn't work nicely. We need to scroll, which is not what we want to do. So we want to make sure, we want to add a media query to make sure when the screen becomes wide. So I want to say add media. And I basically want to say min width. So I want to say when the minimum width is 960 px, only then we want this display to come into effect. So I want to put this one here, Control V, and put that there, Control R. Okay, so now the screen, okay, so there's a typo there. Okay, now they're next to each other, and I make them narrow, they're below each other. Okay, so now my cat app seems to be responsive. So because I added the Flexbox, so where I said min width is 960 px, so now the elements are sitting below each other because this CSS only applies when we're wider than that. Okay, so let's have a look. So there's some small styling here that I want to fix. So if I look at this section here at the bottom, so I'm just going to style this at the moment. So looking at this is a field set element. So what I want to do is I want to go to the field set element, and I want to say let's put some margin around it. We'll just say 1M for now. So there's more space, which is great. And then that border that's there, we don't really need that. So I'm going to say border is 0. There's no border. Okay, so that looks much better already. So that's our cat form. That's kind of there. Okay, so now I've got a responsive. What I want to do also is I want to change my font and the body font family. And which one will I go for? Gil Sans. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so that looks quite nice. So now I've got a cat photo app with a different font type that I change. So now my website is responsive. Make them bigger, works okay. There's some buttons to style here, so you can do that if you want. You can add some, you can add some more styling on the buttons if you need to. I mean, you can add something like this button. You can directly style a button. So you can say margin, or we want padding, 1M. So our button is much bigger. And then we can say border 1px. Solid. Okay, let's see. Okay, I can make that bigger, 3px. I put a bigger border around. It doesn't look particularly nice. I can put border radius to create a rounder button. Does that work? I think. Let's go out. Okay, border radius. I can create a rounder button, 0.5, something like that. So my button is much rounder. And then we can do the same with the input box. Input box, and we can say, we want to say padding 1M. So if we do that, you see this bigger. So you can see how we can style other elements as well. But the main thing we wanted to style here is to make our cat app responsive. So if I go here, it's below each other. If I make it bigger, big screen, they're next to each other. So we've got a Flexbox here. You've got these three container elements that's contained in another element, and the containing element is set display to flex, hence they are now shown like this. So now I've got a nice responsive little cat app, and what you need to do next is to deploy this, push this to GitHub Pages, and let's have a look how you got on with that. So by doing this, you get a better and better understanding of how to create responsive web pages. And you will see that on a small screen, it will look like this. And on a bigger screen, it will look nicely like this, where elements are next to each other. The way we do that in the code is over here, where we have a media query, and we set the min width to be 960 pixels. And then we set display flex, so cats. If we go into HTML, so cats is a new element that we added. We wrap that around 3 of our sections, basically saying that if these sections, they're in the Flexbox, they need to be next to each other if the Flexbox applies. We also added this Flex1, making sure that our Flexbox elements take up all the elements. So we can play around with our layout and see what it looks like. Yeah, looks okay. So that's it. So hopefully you can use this and make your own cat app responsive and add the Flexbox around it so that your elements is below each other when the screen is narrow, and when the screen is wide, these elements sits next to each other.